welcome to the Digital SAT webinar. The first Digital SAT webinar is finally happening, and the SAT is happening on 11th of March 2023. Even with the perfect preparation, there are many things that could be taken into consideration for the test, such as the process of registration for the test, which device needs to be used, the process of borrowing the devices, scoring reports, right practice to follow, and much more. So don't worry, our experts are over here to guide you with everything. Attend this exclusive webinar to gather all the right information for the new SAT. So this webinar is going to highlight a brief information on the test structure, scoring, adaptive nature, and much more. Know about the registration deadlines, extensions, alternative test dates, quality content to score high, know more about the right time to start the prep, checklist for the exam day, and information on the score reports. So we have a resource person today, Miss Chinu Vasudeva. Miss Chinu Vasudeva is a highly acclaimed and one of the finest test prep experts worldwide. She has done more than 18 years of experience in the industry, being an alumnus of prestigious institutes like LSR and St. Stephen. She could have easily chosen lucrative corporate path, but she found her passion in mentoring and guiding students on a better career path. She has been in leadership roles in academics and study abroad programs for various organizations such as the Princeton Review, CL Educate, Educomp, etc. An avid blogger, she has shared her knowledge across all platforms via her blogs and articles. Driven down by her passions to provide quality platform for her students who are seeking higher goals and wonderful career in starting. Thank you, ma'am, and welcome to this webinar. Let's start with the same.
Good evening, all of you. So, first of all, I would like to thank Jitin, Sakshi, and the other team members to give us this platform to discuss things about the digital SAT, the new SAT, which is going to come up in March. So, today we are going to talk about what SAT is, why SAT is required, what are the changes which are going to happen in the SAT from now on, and what are the important key points that one has to keep in mind whenever they are trying to prepare for the SAT. So I'll quickly move to the takeaways from today's webinar. So this is what I am expecting to give all of you guys today. I mean, this is my checklist. If any one of you have something of your own, if you have your own questions, you can put that in the comments, or you can raise your hand, you can write to us later. So we are broadly going to discuss about the test structure, that what is going to be the structure of the test, how we are going to get the scorings. We are going to talk about an interesting feature which has come up, the adaptive nature in the SAT, which was not there in SAT before this. It was, of course, there in exams like GMAT and GRE, if you have heard of those exams. We'll talk about the registrations, registration deadlines. I mean, what are the new dates that has come up? Do we have any extensions now? What is the change in the content? What content is going to remain the same? What is the right time to start the SAT prep? How many months are required? And what is the right way to reach your target score to be able to reach your dream university? And what are all the the checklist, what are the items that I can take to the exam day? What is it that is allowed, what is it that is not allowed? So we're going to have a brief discussion on all of these things. End of my webinar, I am going to give you a live demo also of the Bluebook app which is required, so because that's the most interesting part. So this is something all of us know. Digital SAT 2023 is here. And now let's understand, when does it start? So outside the US, it starts from this 11th March, guys, 2023. So in case you feel that, you want to take up a paper pencil test, so I would say that you will have to fly to US to write that, because any place outside US, you have no option to take a paper and pencil test. But I would not recommend that you travel to US, because with the digital SAT, there are a lot of advantages that has come up. It being shorter, passages being shorter, calculator being allowed throughout. There are multiple advantages that you have. So you don't have to think about taking a paper and pencil test. Out and within US, it will be available from 10th of March 2024. So US, they have one more year for the paper and pencil test, but anywhere outside US, it's gone. Okay, so now we are to the most important question for which all of us are here today. All of us are here today to know what to expect on the digital SAT. So what are the new changes? What are the things that are going to, run? So everything related to this is what we are going to cover up. So it's going to be shorter by 1 hour. So it used to be 3 hours test, and this is something we used to, see with all our students that if you are preparing for the SAT, you are a 10th grader or a 11th grader or a 12th grader, but then you don't have time to give a complete 3 hours test. So now, because it's a 2 hours test, we highly recommend that whenever you have time on the weekdays or weekends, whenever you're giving your test, give a complete test, because now you will be able to take a complete 2 hours test. It will be required by most of the US colleges. So a lot of times we read words like blindfold and optional. A lot of people come to me and say that, ma'am, it's not required anymore. They say it's blindfold. So let's understand the difference between the blindfold and let's understand the difference between the optional. So when a college or a university say blindfold means that you don't even have the option of giving your SAT score on that particular application. There is no checkbox. So you have given it, you have not given it, it does not matter to them. But when they say optional, okay, something went wrong with my laptop. So when they say that it's optional, it means that, of course, if you're giving the SAT, if you're giving the SAT and you can write these scores, it's always a better option. Because in that case, we as the experts, we have been looking at the applications that whenever whosoever student has given the SAT and they have written that in their paper, so that's always a better option for the student. Okay, moving on to the next slide.
Chinu ma'am, I have just shared the screen because I think there was some issue. So I've just let
Yeah.
me know when to slide.
Yeah. Please change the slide. Next slide. Yeah. So we've just discussed that it's required for most of the US schools. Then the test can now be taken on the laptop or it can be taken on the tablet. So you have two options. You can carry your own laptop or you can use the laptop which is available at the test center. Now, like your school exams, you will have a different test. Say, for example, you are sitting here, your friend is sitting next to you. So you will get a totally different exam. He will get a totally different exam. It may happen that, you have same questions, but the order of the questions may get changed. So it will be a unique test for all of you. It includes a built-in graphing calculator. So there are on-screen calculators which are now going to be there on the SAT. You can use a scientific calculator. You can also use a graphing calculator. But we highly recommend that you buy your own calculator and do not use the built-in graphing calculator, because to use that becomes a little complicated at times. So scientific, you can use any calculator, but if you're looking at a graphing calculator, you can go to the College Board website. They have given a complete PDF of the graphing calculators which are allowed on the exam. Now coming to a very, very critical point, that College Board has recently announced that they are only going to give you 4 papers. I mean, before this, there were like multiple papers that one can practice. There were almost 25, 30 official tests that the students had availability. But going further, as of now, they have only given the 4 papers. So what we recommend to all the students who are going to appear in March or who are going to appear in May, do not use these papers for practice. Use Khan Academy resources. Use the resources which are given by your test prep company, or you can resource the multiple. You use the multiple resources which are available online or offline. Use these in the last stage of your prep. Whenever you feel that okay, 70-80% of my prep is done, then only you should be using these tests to see what are my weak areas, what are my strong areas, and am I ready for the test? Am I okay with that stamina of sitting for 2 hours and 14 minutes? Reading passages will be shorter now, and pre-approved calculators will be allowed throughout the math section. So before this, anyone who's prepared for the SAT or had appeared for the SAT would know that before this there were 2 sections in the SAT math, where one section the calculator was allowed, one section the calculator was not allowed. But now the calculator will be allowed throughout the math section. Now something very, very important and very interesting. Till December SAT, you were getting your scores in 17 to 19 days. Now, for a lot of us, it was a problem. Say, I have an application deadline, so I have to wait for my results. Say, I have to decide upon, giving the next SAT, but maybe the registration deadline is very soon and I haven't got my scores. So I don't know if I should be, reappearing, I should be, re-registering myself. So now your scores, because it's going digital, will be much faster. You will get your scores in no time, maybe 4 to 5 days. So if any one of you have heard of GMAT, GRE, they give you the unofficial scores on that day itself. So, I mean, the recent announcements by College Board, they are also expecting to do that within 2-3 years. But right now, yes, they should be able to give your scores within 3 to 4 days. Moving on to next slide. There are few things in SAT which are not going to change. So of course, for good, there are a lot of things, they have added in the SAT to make it more student friendly, to make it, more of a competitive exam. But there are few things that they are planning to keep same. Moving to the next slide. The first thing that they're not going to change is exam will still be scored at 1600. Math is 800, English is 800, and it was the same scoring before the digital SAT also, and it is going to remain same. Now, lot of people keep writing me that, ma'am, because it's going digital, so will I be able to take it at home? The answer is no. You will not be able to take it at home. You will have to go to the test centers or the schools which are going to organize SAT for you. So you will have to register for SAT the same way. You will have to go to the test center, and you will have to go and appear for the test. Students will still have access to free resources from the Khan Academy. So now this is something that all of you should know, that Khan Academy is a free resource and nobody can charge you for that. I mean, a lot of students comes to me and say they say that, ma'am, they're going to create an account for us. So, these are the facilities they are giving. But no, these facilities are given by College Board to you. And they keep updating it with the huge research team that they have. So this is a free resource you will still have access to, and they have made modifications. 15th Jan, they made all the modifications which were required for digital SAT. So say if you're going to create your account on Khan Academy, I mean, this is to all of you who are listening to me. If you're going to give your SAT in May or June or March, guys, create your account on Khan Academy, and it will ask you that which SAT are you going to appear. What is your location? So when you write your location is India and you're going to appear in March or May, they are going to give you a practice which is a all digital SAT practice. Content and the type of questions will not change. Of course, there can be the pattern of a question which is changing, the structure of a question which is changing. But when you talk about the typical content in the question, they have no plans to change that. Students will still have access to directions for the next section. So in the paper pencil section also, they were clearly writing, move to the next section. These are the timings. So, they will not change. But of course, now you don't have to keep looking at your watch. You don't have to look at the wall clock. There will be an on-screen clock which will be running all the time. So you will know that how much time is gone, how many breaks are there, what time is my break, what time my break is getting over, because SAT is one exam where you will have to stay back on the section. Say if my section is 25 minutes and I'm done in 22 minutes, boss, you cannot move to the next section. You have to stay on the section. You don't have the option of clicking. Most of the reading and writing sections will still have MCQs like the old SAT, and the math section will still have MCQs and grid-ins. Yes, grid-ins, there are new changes. I'll be, sharing that update also. And by grid-ins, we mean that we have no options. We have to write our own answer. Moving to the next slide. Okay, now this is something very important. SAT used to happen only 4 times in a year. And now, last 3 years, because of COVID, there were a lot of cancellations, there were a lot of changes in the date. So they made it 5 times. But now, because it's going digital, SAT is now going to be 7 times in a year. So it's going to be a fixed date of March, May, June, August, October, November, and December. This is going to be same. So now they are giving it 7 times a year. You have 2 more chances to appear for the SAT, and they have plans to bring it to like maybe 10 times or 12 times in a year like ACTs. We know that ACT happens so many times in a year. I mean, there are months when it happens even 2 to 3 times in a month, say in the month of July. So they also have plans. SAT is also planning to do that soon. They will come up with more dates. But for this year, if you want, you can take a screenshot. You can write this down if you want. But these are the 7 dates which are already there for this year. And for the upcoming March 11, the deadline is 10th of Feb. So if you have plans to give your exam in March, go ahead, register yourself, because for this particular SAT, there are no late registration dates. So if you miss the date, you have no chance. You will have to move to May 6th. Moving on. Okay, so as I just told you that SAT is now a 2 hours test from the 3 hours test. So we can say moreover, it's 25% shorter now. Now we have 2 sections, reading and writing and maths. Reading and writing were 2 sections initially. We used to call it reading, 1 section, writing, 1 section. Overall, it was English. Now, SAT has removed the word English. Whenever you will see a typical book of a college board, whenever you see any material related to the college board, you will not see the word English, you will see RW. That's the new vocab that they're using for the SAT English. Reading and writing section will have 2 modules. First module, you will have 25 questions with 2 experimental questions, as you can see on my slide. And then the second module will again have 25 questions with 2 experimental questions. So therefore, in all, in the first go, you have to give 27 questions. Once you have appeared for these 27 questions, it will adapt to your knowledge. Yes, that's the new feature that SAT has come up with. And guys, it's very interesting. Because, people have told me that, ma'am, if I do the questions incorrectly and I'll get the easier questions, so why not do them incorrectly and get the easier questions? No, that's not the case here, guys. So what happens is that if you do the first module, which is 27 questions correctly, you see the next section, which is little tougher, but higher the level of difficulty, better you score. Lesser the level of difficulty, lesser you score. So give you 100% on the first section so that you get a tougher second section so that you get a very good score on the SAT. So this is how English works. Moving to math. Math also you have the same module. First module, you have 22 questions to be done. Looking at your performance, it shows you the second module, which again has 22 questions. Overall, 44 questions. Maths, now you will be allowed to use a calculator for the entire paper. So this is the test structure. Very important for all of us to know. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, so here we're talking about the multi-stage adaptive testing. So now we have two modules, each for math and for English. For math, we have first module based on the performance. You will see the second module. English, you have first module based on the performance. You will see the second module. Now, uh, they had announced about the digital SAT last year, 15th of January. So they had been working hard. They had been running a pilot project. The lot of tests were offered to us as the trainers also, different students also. So on the basis of that, they have created a report, which is very, very interesting. And the report says that even if you do like 70-75% of your questions on the first module correctly, you still have a chance of getting a harder second module. So the point here is that, say 2, 3, 4 questions went wrong on the first module. Don't give up. Don't give up your hopes. Don't feel that, I will not be able to perform. That's not the case, because even if 2 or 3 or 4 questions are wrong on the first module, you have chances of scoring a 800 on 800. So keep trying, keep working hard on the second module also, because there is no such strategy that I have to make 100 on 100 in the first module to reach a 800. That's not the case. It's a very important research that the college board has done, and they have shared with all the mentors across the globe to make the students understand to keep working hard even in the second module. Moving to the next slide. Okay, coming to the reading and writing section. It features many shorter questions now. So there are few changes in the reading and writing section. There used to be long passages in the reading and writing section, but now there will only be the shorter texts. So you will not see any longer texts here, and which is going to be a definite advantage for all the students. There will be a single reading and writing section with two different sections. There will be a wider range of topics that you've already done in school, which means that there were limited topics, in SAT, but now when you will look at the new SAT, you will have variety of topics. They're going to give you topics on literature, history, social sciences, humanities, lot of other interesting things which are going to come up. But the advantage of all this is that you will have shorter passages, you will have shorter texts. All questions will be independent items now. So for example, if you see a question, in the old SAT you used to see 2, 3, 4 questions based on that, but now one independent question, another independent questions. No two questions will be related to each other. Okay, one very interesting thing which has come up in the new SAT is poetry. So it was never there on the SAT. Yes. Now they are going to give you one comprehension which has poetry. So as Indians, a lot of us love poetry. So it's going to be very, very interesting, can be a little challenging also. But if you go to Khan Academy, you will see that they are coming up with a lot of beautiful passages on the poetry. So go ahead, start practicing poetry, because you will encounter at least 2 to 3 questions on your SAT which are poetry based. So this is about the reading and the writing section. Now let's understand the very, very important part of this reading and writing section. See, because a lot of us are good in maths. A lot of us feel that I'm better in English, I'm better in math, but I have to work hard. And how should I be working? Which section should I be working on? What is the scoring pattern? I mean, there's so many topics. Which topic can I work more on? So just to answer that, can we move to the next slide? We have come up with this. So now if you look at this, there is a fixed percentage that we have for all the modules. So when you look at the first part, it says that your craft and the structure accounts for 28%. Then your information and idea accounts for 26%. Standard English accounts for 26%, and expression of ideas accounts for 20%. So this doesn't mean that, I have to cover up all of them. This also doesn't mean that, I have to cover up few of them. But say, for example, if I feel that I'm not very good with the rhetoricals, but I know that rhetoricals is only 20% of the overall exam. So maybe you can focus more on the craft and structure first and then come to the rhetoricals later. Or if you feel that I'm better with the expression of ideas, work first on that and then come to the second part. So this actually tells you how the percentage is divided. What are the topics where I can focus more? What are the topics where I can focus more and I can score also more? Because now they have come up with a clear percentage and the type of questions, number of questions which you will see in the RW section. So based on this, you can start working on your weak areas and on your strong areas. Same thing you have for math also. Moving on to the next slide. Math section, you can bring your own calculator. I've just discussed that. And guys, if you're looking at the upcoming SAT, I would highly recommend that go today and buy your calculator. Because I have seen students, buying calculator 2 days or 3 days before the exam and changing the batteries. This does not help you. So if you're looking at the SAT, look at the list of the calculators, go buy your calculators and start doing your classes with the calculator so that you know what are the type of questions where I would need calculator, what are the type of questions where I would not need calculator. This will make you more friendly with the exam also. Another interesting thing that has happened in the math is before this March SAT till the December SAT, we used to have a lot of long wordy problems in math also. Yes, I mean that's a part of English, but yes, it was there in math also. 5, 6, 7, 8 lines problems also, where there were a lot of graphs, a lot of other things to be done. But now that's all gone. It will not be there on the exam anymore. You will not have a question of the length more than 3 lines or 4 lines. They have given a new name to the gradient questions that is now called SPR, Student Reduced Responses. So in the gradients, there were few restrictions we had on the questions. You cannot have a negative answer. You cannot get a square root as your answer. If your answer is more than 4 digits, that can also not be your answer. But now with SPR, all those restrictions are gone. I can have a negative answer. I can have a square root also. I can have my answer as say like 12 divided by 24, which use 5 blanks. But in gradients, there were only 4 blanks that I could use. So that's something which has changed in maths now. And again, coming to the percentage of the maths, if we can look at the next slide. Thank you. Now, maths, if you look at the next slide, math, there is a huge difference in the percentage in the 4 modules. So if you look at the first module, algebra, is 35% of the SAT math. And again, being an Indian student, we start algebra as early as class 6. I mean, 6, 7, 8, 9 is something, we keep doing algebra. On the SAT, that accounts for almost 35% of your exam. So that's a huge part. Advanced math includes your quadratic equations, your complex numbers is gone. So that's a big advantage now. It used to be there on the SAT, but it's not there anymore. But you have quadratic equations, type of quadratic equations, vertex parabola form, something, that you start in 9, do a little bit more in the class 10th, and then, you go ahead with the class 11. So again, if somebody feels that, I am good in maths, but I'm not that good in maths that I'm in English. So guys, focus on 1 and 2 to start with. I am not saying that just completely leave the third and fourth, but you can look at the first and second because even third and fourth had a lot of topics. But it makes more sense to attempt first and second, attempt 500, 600 questions on first and second, grab the 70% and save like a 640, 650 for yourself. And among these two, pick and choose the topics that you love. I mean, all of us know geometry, we know basic formulas. So grab that first and then come to the last part. Now, geometry is something that I generally suggest to all the students because when you will go to the digital SAT, they give you a reference box. Now, if you click on that reference box, it gives you the list of all the formulas. So you won't even have to, learn the formulas. You don't even have to mug up all the formulas of geometry. So if you can possibly try doing, say, 50, 70, 100 questions of geometry, it's doable for you because in the reference box, they are giving you the formulas. At the home, you've already practiced it. So it makes kind of a very good combination for you. So this slide again is very interesting because it gives you a complete composition of the math. That 70% is something which is just 2 modules. Moving on to the next slide. Okay, now this is something again, a lot of people keep asking me, a lot of students keep asking me. So I thought, let me also, put this also on my slide, what to bring on the test day. So there are few important documents that you have to bring on the test day. So moving to the next slide, you have to bring your admit card. So once you register for the SAT, you get a formal mail from the college board, and they, send you your admit card also. So you have to take a printout of that admit card, and you have to take that to the testing center. You have to take a face covering mask if that's required in the testing center. You have to take the acceptable photo ID, which is the passport for Indians. So we must take that. We take a pencil or a pen for the scratch work. Now in the digital SAT, what is going to happen is they're going to give you a booklet. It's a laminated sheet with 5 pages, and they will give you a pen, or you can take your own pen also. It works both ways, and you will be able to do the scratch work there, because till December, the scratch work was allowed on your own question paper. But now, because it's digital, they are going to give you a booklet where you can scratch. You can take your fully charged testing device with the Bluebook app, for which we'll see if the time allows. I can give you the live demo also. So in that Bluebook app, it works like, say, for example, if I want to chat with my friend on WhatsApp, I have to download WhatsApp. If I want to write an email to my friend, I have to, download the Google app. Same way, if I want to prepare for SAT, want to give SAT, I have to download Bluebook app. That's the most important thing right now. And of course, the acceptable calculator on the SAT. So these are a few important things you have to take. Apart from this, one thing that I missed here was you get the breaks on your SAT, and you can eat refreshments. So you can also carry your refreshments once you reach your testing centers. They give you a locker. You can put your stuff in the locker. So you can carry, something like, you can carry a chocolate, you can carry juice, something, which makes you feel good, something that doesn't make you feel bloated, something that gives you energy. So chocolates, I think, is the best thing. So that's something you can take. I mean, we haven't added that to our slide. So these are few things which are mandatory that you must take to the testing center. And before you register for SAT, make sure that you have a valid passport, because that's also something which has happened with a lot of our students. You don't check the validity of your passport and you see it's expiring. So that creates a problem for you. So you make sure that you have a valid passport before you register for the SAT. Moving on to the next slide. So this was more about, the digital SAT. Now I'll tell you that, what's the right thing at the right time. So moving on. How to ace the exam. So this is something which is not, related to SAT being digital, but this is something which is required by all of us. If you feel that you are not a person who likes reading, it's better late than never. So you must have heard this from a lot of teachers in your school that, reading is not something which happens in a day. It takes a lot of time. But start today. If you're looking to give your SAT, you have to develop a reading habit for yourself, because that's very important. And that changes the game for you altogether. I mean, if you are into reading, your passages becomes, they become very easy for you. You don't feel bored, because I've seen, whenever I'm taking a class, they are good with the math homework, but when it comes to English, they feel bored because, they're not into reading. So you have to develop that habit into yourself. Start early. The best time is 10th or 11th. So that doesn't mean that if I'm in class 12th I cannot give it, but yes, if you are a 10th grader or if you are a 11th grader, I would say this is the best time to start. Give yourself 2 to 3 months at least, so that you don't panic. You should get at least 45 days for the concepts. You should get at least a month for the full length tests, so that you feel confident while giving the exam. Because see, if you look at these exams, more than checking your concepts, they are checking your presence of mind. SAT is an exam where you don't have a lot of tricks and strategies, but they focus on the fundamentals. How good are you with the fundamentals? So if you're focusing on practicing, you have already gained a lot of confidence, and your presence of mind will work 100% and you end up getting a very good score. Plus, if you start early, you can plan. Because again, you being a 10th, 11th, 12th grader, you have so much on your plate. You have school, you have projects, you have some extracurricular activities at school, you have some tuitions, and you have some, courses on Coursera, you have summer projects, you have, internships. So if you start early, you know what's the right time for which thing. Say if your SAT prep company is telling you that you have to spend like 8 hours, 10 hours for SAT per week. And if you're starting early, then you know how to plan things. You know, okay, SAT, I have to give 45 minutes every day or maybe 1 hour every day. So that works for you because it's important to be steady. I mean, you just can't sit one day for 5 hours. That does not help, guys. You should do it every day. It should be regular process for you. Another important thing is that you have to avoid silly mistakes. Now, how to avoid silly mistakes? You should always have an error log. Say when your teacher is giving you 50 questions for homework. So create an error log for yourself. Write those 10, 15, 20 questions which went wrong. Go back to those questions after 20 days, 25 days and see what silly mistakes you did. So if you're doing this regularly, if you're creating an error log for yourself, you will not make any silly mistakes and you will have a good confidence level. You will know what are my strong areas, what are my weak areas, because that's very important. Because something that went wrong in one go, the first go itself, is your weak area. So if you're working on that, it's going to help you. Practice full length test. So this is something I recommend to all of you. Do not break your test. If you don't have 2 hours, do not sit for the test. I mean, if we have any parents also sitting here right now, I would suggest you guys that do not allow your ward to take your test in the breaks because that does not help. Do not waste the test. Whenever you have 2 hours, 14 minutes, then only start your test because that will help you build up your stamina for the exam. So these are five key points that I follow, I ask my students to follow to ace the SAT. Moving on to the next slide. Next very important thing is to understand what's right at what age. So, Ribu, if you can, yeah, thank you. So, this is a kind of timeline, that we follow for our students. And a lot of parents also, when they come to me, they want to understand that, what age I should be doing what thing. So, if you're a grade 9 student, PSAT is the best option for you. You should start with your PSAT. If you are in grade 10, then you must start with your SAT or ACT preparation and your AP preparations also. So advanced placements is something where you have 38 courses which are allowed. If you don't have a lot of information, probably you can write to us later and we can give you all the information about the advanced placements also. But yes, it's good for the students who are looking to go outside India, study, want to build up a great profile for themselves. It only happens once in a year in the month of May. So our team can share a lot of details with you that what all exams you can take and what are the dates for all those exams. But the right time to prepare for this is grade 10. Grade 11 is the right time to appear or take the SAT or ACT. And grade 12 is, of course, the time you have to focus a lot on your school acads. You should be working on your applications and you should be just writing your APs because May of class 12th is actually a perfect time to write your AP exams because AP you tests all the 11th, 12th, and college concepts. So if I'm a 12th grader, it's like half of it is done for me. And because I've done a lot of it in my class 11th and a bit of it in class 12th. So that's the right time to give your APs. Moving on to the next slide. So this is something important, guys. You can make a note of this. This is the link to download the Bluebook. So if you guys have a laptop right now or a tablet or any other gadget, then my next slide gives you the steps. If we can go to the next slide, you have to open Google. Next slide, please. Go to sat.org/digital. Then you have to click on the Bluebook testing app, and then you can download the Bluebook. Now, once you download the Bluebook, it will ask you to sign in with your College Board account, because this is the first step towards SAT now, because this is something you start with, this is something is mandatory. If I don't have a Bluebook, I will not be able to appear for the exam. I will not be able to take the 4 tests which are given by the College Board. Once you download the book, if you don't have a account on the College Board, you can create an account for yourself. You can sign in, and once you sign in, it shows you the 4 papers and it takes you to the test preview also. So when you take a test preview, you will see that you have a lot of shortcuts now. They give you questions with options. They give you a reference box. They give you an option to flag the question. So SAT, you can go back to the question. You can come back to the question later. Say, for example, if my section has 20 questions, once I'm done with all the 20 questions, it'll show you a window where you have all the 20 questions written, and it shows you which all questions you had flagged. So you can click on the question and you can go back to that question. So that's something which is very interesting in SAT now. Because, when we were doing paper pencil, there were times where, you marked a question, but you did not remember. But now you can see all the questions on the same screen and okay, these are the 3 questions I had flagged. Okay, I have 3 minutes. Let me just go back to those questions and check. So these are the 4 steps. If you want, you can click the picture. You can download this later. Moving on to the next slide. Coming to finally, why choose us? So I'll just give you that the details a little bit about what we do here. So we divide our program in like about 4 phases. First phase is that when you come to us, we ask you to take a diagnostic test. We'll help you understand that, what are your strong areas, what are your weak areas, and what is the real situation right now. So that's the first phase. And then we kind of create a program for you. We make you understand that, okay, how many hours are required. And then we take you to the complete. Then the phase 2 is that we do the concept classes, which is a 40 hours program. We do all the concepts with the questions which are related to SAT. And third phase is that we start with the practice of the questions, mixed bag of the questions of all the modules. And we keep creating the error logs. We keep doing the sectional tests. We keep looking at your, mistakes. We keep focusing on the areas where you need to work more. And then finally, the phase 4 is that we start with the full-end tests. So this is how we go ahead with our prep. We have experts sitting there who helps you with the test analysis also. Yeah, and that's it. That's about the SAT. That's about the digital SAT. Now, if you have any questions, you can come up.
Guys, if you have any questions, you can leave that in the comment box.
Can you repeat point 5 about calculator? Okay. So about calculator, what I was saying is that there is an on-screen calculator which is allowed, but we recommend is that you do not use the on-screen calculator and you buy your own calculator. If you go to collegeboard.com, you will see that there is a list of the calculators that you can use. So if you're buying a scientific calculator, you can buy any calculator. But if you're buying a graphic calculator, then in that case, there is limited calculators which are allowed. Limited models that you are allowed. So yes, if you look at the Khan Academy, the material is allowed. Material is there. Okay. Say for example, if you talk about the algebra in maths, advanced math, if you talk about geometry, problem solving, data analysis, you have more than 4,500 questions on Khan Academy. So if you're looking to give your SAT, start your prep with Khan Academy. But if you're looking to give the full-length tests, for that you will have to download the Bluebook. So Bluebook is required for 2 purposes, for the full-length tests and for the exam. Okay, then we have next question. Ma'am, what if I missed SAT prep in class 9 and 10? How to proceed in 11th? So it's very simple, if you have not prepared in class 10th or you have not prepared in class 11th, what we recommend is that you start right now, start with the diagnostic test, see how much you score, and accordingly, our mentors will guide you how to proceed further. So it doesn't matter if you haven't started in class 9 and 10. I mean, 11th is also a perfect time to start with. That's not a problem because ninth you generally give PSATs. So Aadhaar card, there are few places where the Aadhaar card is permitted, but there are few testing centers. We have also faced it with our students that the Aadhaar card was not accepted. However, on the college board website, if you check, they say that these are the list of the photo IDs which are acceptable. But we still, recommend to our students that you must take the passport because that's the safest option. When to start coaching for SAT in 11? So, I mean, if you're a 10th grader, if you have your boards, then probably after your boards you can start. That's the best time. And you can target the August SAT because that's the first after your boards. Say, because if your boards are getting over in March, even June SAT is there if you feel that, next 2 months I will be completely free and I can give my 100% to the SAT. But if you are an 11th grader and you are moving to class 12th, in that case, I would recommend that you must look at June and you should not take it to October. Because then you have to focus on your school acads also. So if you take it to October, then there's a lot of school pressure that you have. So in that case, you must not drag it to October. Just get over with it in June. So, see, I would not say it's enough. Yes, if you talk about practice, it's enough, but you have to make sure that you know the concepts. See, I have 100 questions to practice, but I don't know the right methodology to use in the question. I don't have a right pedagogy to use. So if that's the case, even I end up wasting those 100 questions. So if you know that you know the right method, you know the tricks, you know the shortcuts, then yes, of course, you can go ahead with Khan Academy and you can keep practicing. I mean, before that, what I would recommend is that you take one mock test and see how much you score. And then probably accordingly, you can decide on that. See, if you have studied and you are confident, then of course, be confident, take mock tests, see how much you're scoring. If you want, you can even share your scores with our experts. We can guide you that what are the gaps, and you can fill up those gaps on your own. Plus, you can also go ahead and buy a book for yourself, because for the digital SAT there are very very limited books which are available. So if you feel that you're already very confident, as you just wrote to me that you've already prepared for it and you've been preparing for it, so say, I mean, not many brands, but yes, there are few books which are available. So go ahead, buy those books and see what's your score, and accordingly you take a decision that you need a professional help or you don't need a professional help. In fact, anyone who feels he's confident should, and they feel that the content is done, you should keep reading the stuff. I mean, you can download the good editorials. You can download, say, for example, you can download a New York Times app. So if you look at the New York Times apps, it's amazing. They give you, I mean, 7 to 8 editorials that they give you for free. And if you like those articles, you can even subscribe because they are very, very close to the passages that you see on the SAT. So that's something that you can do. good news apps that you can download. You can start reading those apps. Okay, so we have this question. What if I'm in 12th grade? When can I start? So, Swati, if you are a 12th grader and, I mean, I don't know what you're saying that you are in 12th grade, you have your boards now. So, probably, I mean, I don't know if you're done with your application, but if you're going to class 12, then June is the right time. And if you are a 12th grader who has boards, then also June is the right time. I mean, then you can talk to your, the mentor about, which university you are looking at. You're looking at January intake, you're looking at September intake, by when you have to give your SAT. But of course, May or June is the best time. I would say June because March and your exams will get over if you're in class 12. And after that, you should give yourself at least 2 to 3 months. Because if you look at May, it will just be a month, because it's the first week of May. So in that case, give yourself 2 months for the prep because after 12th, you won't have a lot of things on your plate. You will be able to give a lot of time to the SAT. I've scored a 1500 in a mock test, but the paper was relatively easy. So should I study more if the paper that comes is more difficult? So, of course, see, when you give a mock test, I mean, just one mock test, you cannot decide that, I am done with my prep. So, in that case, what I recommend is because I just told you that now we have very, very limited number of tests with us. There are only 4 papers. So, you cannot use all the 4 papers in looking at, what's my performance. So, in that case, what you can do is you can use resources at your test prep company, or you can use resources on the Khan Academy, time yourself and see your accuracy. Because what happens is when you're using such resources, it gives you the options of milestones. So when you reach a milestone 2 or a milestone 3 on such apps, then see what is your accuracy. If your accuracy after even a milestone 3 is say 85% to 90%, in that case, you're good to go. SAT exams best for which stream? So it's not about being best. Okay. So that's Kavita. So Kavita, it's not about being best. The question here is it is required by the US universities. So it's mandatory. That is the reason, they are not giving you something which is only favorable for the science students or humanity students or commerce students. If I talk about a typical CBSE pattern. So it includes your math and English. It includes the math, which is class 9, 10, and 11. And it includes the English, which is not only concentrated on any of the, streams. So it's something, it completely depends on what university you are looking at. You're looking at computer science, it may be required. You are looking at the HBA program, it may be required because you're a commerce student. If you're looking at the bachelor's in sociology, you're looking at the bachelor's in psychology, you're looking at the bachelor's in history, then it may be required. So it's not stream specific, it's specific to what university you are applying, what is their eligibility criteria. So that's something your mentor can tell you that it's required, it's optional, it's required, or it's blindfold, because these are 3 different things. So if it's blindfold, it's not required. It's optional. We highly recommend that you write it. And if it's required, then you have no option. It's mandatory. You have to give it. All right. So we don't see any more questions coming up. Okay. So we have another one. Ma'am, what percent of math from each? So, there is no percentage, I would say, from 9th, 10th, and 11th. But SAT, what happens is, as I just told you, it's a multi-stage adaptive testing, which means that the level of difficulty will keep increasing depending upon how you perform on the exam. So ninth grader would mean easy questions. Say, for example, if I take up a topic like simultaneous equations. So, simultaneous equations is there in class ninth also, 10th also, 11th also. So, the level of difficulty keeps increasing. So, there is no fixed percentage. Module 1, if I perform well, I may see a difficult question, which is probably a question of a 10th grade. But if module 1, say I'm not able to perform well, and then the next question that I see in my module 2 may be easy, which is a ninth grader. So it's the topic percentage, but the level of difficulty is individual to individual. So we cannot come up with something like that, the PPT that I had shown you for the topics. There is no such PPT for the grades that from ninth grade this much, from 10th grade this much. No. Now, yes. SAT is now applicable in India also, and there is a huge list of colleges who accept the exam. So, any one of you who wants to have that list can probably write to us. I mean, it's flashing on your screen our email IDs, and we can send you the list of colleges in India which are accepting SAT. There are a lot of universities within India who are accepting the SAT. So as it's just flashed, you can contact us and we'll send you the complete list of colleges in India who are accepting SAT. If you talk about the recognized ones also, even the recognized, there are more than 50. And the complete list, if you look at, there are more than 200 colleges, universities in India who are accepting SAT. In fact, lot of universities in India, they have come up on their own and they have shown it on their pages, and they keep advertising it. They keep writing in equivalent marks, that these are your board marks, these are your SAT marks, these are the points, these are the grade points that you get. So you can probably go to their pages and you can calculate their score points as per your GPAs, your SATs, and your CBSE marks. Okay.
Chinu ma'am, thank you for this wonderful session.
Thank
So
you.
let's end this session now. In case you have any more queries, you can contact on the numbers given below. We will be happy to answer all these queries. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Chinu ma'am.
Thank you.